Hello everyone and thank you for joining me. For today's drawing, I decided to use a fountain pen that it's on the more affordable side of things, and what attracted me about it was the colors that it came in. What I have right here is basically a fade, I guess, from a darkerish orange to a brighter orange, even close to yellow. Basically, this is a new version of the, can we call it a classic yet? Of the Hero 329 fountain pen. And they called it Hero 329 Plus. What you see in the image is basically in the background I have the original Hero 329, and up front what you see right now is the actual 329 Plus. The colors are actually very bright, especially on this version that I have, so bright that my camera actually had issues focusing on the actual shape of the pen. I had to use my hand to help it guide on what parts of the pen it should focus. Overall, it's very similar with the original Hero 329. The only difference or major differences that I see is that, well, first of all, the color, second of all, the branding and the version name are actually painted on. Something that you might or might not like, because that paint, by the time I was done with the actual drawing, completely disappeared from the fountain pen. So I like it because there's no branding on it and it looks very clean. I'm not too big of a fan of the painted letters. While they might work, they might look okay, they were standing out maybe too much. The other big difference between this version and the original version is the fact that, as you've seen probably already, the new version actually comes with a converter cartridge type of reservoir, while the original one has the aerometric version. While I do like and I don't mind using the aerometric version, I have to admit that having a nice slider converter on it, it's much easier to clean and use. And probably will be a little bit more popular than the older version. Plus, they sell for pretty much the same amount as the older ones. I did try to actually use the parts from the old one on the new one and try and see if the parts are actually interchangeable. And unfortunately, no, they are not. Apparently, while they look very similar in design, or at least the overall design of it, the changes are big enough that parts don't really fit properly. The barrel won't screw on either or, and the cap, while it does fit, they don't actually fit or sit as deep as would they be on the original pen. Overall, the fountain pen is actually quite pleasant, and if you are one of the persons that like hooded nibs, I think this could be a little bit of a gem that you might enjoy using. I decided to go with the color that I got only because I thought it might be a perfect match for the ink that I'm using today, which I used it previously, maybe 2 times I believe. It is the Monteverde Fire Opal, an ink that always created some issues for me because the chemical composition of the ink makes your pen have a lot of boogers on the nib if you leave it standing for too long. And I thought, well, cheap pen, great color, should work perfectly, should match the pen pretty well. And I won't mind if I get boogers on it from time to time. However, I don't think I will have that issue because I end up actually using the pen, the ink reservoir of the pen twice in my drawing. I actually had to refill it the second time, and even then I used the entire reservoir. Just I was ending the drawing, the ink ended as well. First of all, about the writing, well, you just witness it. I'm pretty much done with it. Writing, no issues with the writing. The color matchup I think is quite perfect, especially on the smudgy paper that I'm using for testing for now. Is not the smoothest nib in the world, but at the same time is not scratchy either. It is, stiff as a nail because it is a hooded nib, and these nibs, they do tend to be very stiff, not a lot of flex or elasticity in it. However, that makes it for a pretty great writing in the sense that you'll get very consistent lines, but makes it for actually a very good drawing fountain pen. The nib works very well on normal side and reverse. And again, like I said, no skipping, no issues with it. If writing is your thing, the pen is actually very nice to hold posted or unposted depending on your preference. For my preference, I like the pen posted on both cases, for writing and drawing. While the cap is metal, like the original one, and brings a little bit of weight on the back of the pen, it doesn't matter as much because the cap posts so deep that it doesn't really ruin the balance of the pen that much. At least from my hand, I actually kind of like it. The other reason that I wanted to use the fountain pen is because I actually really wanted to use this ink on this paper that I have. I remember that I do like this ink quite a lot, especially the color that it has, and I was curious to see how it will look on this paper, and I do like it. It did throw me off a little bit in the sense that when I was laying down the lines, as I was putting them on the page, the lines were a very bright orange, which I liked, but as it was drying out, the color was changing to a darker orange, and that threw me off a little bit at the beginning because I wasn't sure exactly how to layer it and I didn't know when to stop. That kind of forced me to go through the drawing and jumped from different portions of the drawing, waiting for the ink to start drying, where I was drawing and then coming back again with more layers on top of it. To my surprise, on this paper I was able to layer this ink quite a lot. One issue that I had with the pen, and I mean it's not really the pen's fault, it is the same issue that I be having with most of the pens. As I draw and I build layers and I keep on scratching on this paper, dust and fibers from the page are attaching to the nib, and it starts to slowly dry the nib, which in a way I actually kind of like it because it allows me to slowly build up layers. I guess this will be a feature, not a defect of this paper. And unfortunately though, what it forces me to do is that from time to time the nib gets a little bit too dry and I have to open it up and press on the piston or slide the piston down in order to bring more ink on the feed and start to have a better flow on it. I've been having this issue with the past 3 or 4 fountain pens that I've been looking at. I don't know if I didn't mention it, but I'm mentioning it now. With that aside though, the fountain pen actually worked out very great on the paper, and I do like this ink. Unfortunately though, I don't know if I'm gonna use this ink in other fountain pens or too much in the future, unless I'm gonna be using the same pen. What I noticed when I did my first refill on the pen, this time I put it a little bit deeper in the bottle. I think I actually touched the bottom of the bottle, and as I was sucking up ink inside the reservoir and I lifted the pen, I noticed like a huge slime or sludge at the end of the nib that it was hanging. So most probably this ink somehow is compromised, while the sludge might be just a chemical reaction based on how the ink was done and because it was sitting for too long. The problem is that it might actually be also contaminated and not a good idea to use other fountain pens in it. So what I'm doing, this fountain pen, it's actually dedicated only for this ink, this bottle. Now the smart thing would be to actually throw away the ink. in order to make sure I'm not contaminating other fountain pens. But since I already used the ink in this pen and I didn't realize I had this large problem with the ink, I also don't want to throw it away. So this pen is forever paired with this ink, and whenever I'm gonna finish this ink, I'm gonna do a full decontamination on the fountain pen. But I'll keep my eyes on it and see what kind of issues it might rise from that. So far though, the sludge, well, I cleaned it, and the flow was actually pretty good with the pen, no issues with it. What I'm planning to actually do is maybe I'm actually gonna transfer the ink into a new bottle, and I'm going to basically filter the ink to make sure any big chunks of sludges are not gonna be moving into the new ink and absorb how it will behave in the new bottles. Anyway, a lot about the ink, a lot about the pen, but yeah, that was my experience for today with the pen. The pen in itself, it's actually pretty cool. It's a cheap and cheerful fountain pen that I really enjoyed using it. I want to buy another one, but as I was searching for it on eBay and other websites, I realized that this version of the fountain pen cannot find anywhere else but on AliExpress, which kind of sucks because I did close my account on AliExpress and I don't plan to use it or to open one anytime soon. I think I'm gonna reserve some time and I'm gonna talk about it maybe in my next video and explain why I closed my AliExpress account. Yeah, so unfortunately I wasn't able to find this fountain pen anywhere else. If you guys know of any other auction or AliExpress like app or web app that I can go and purchase more of these, please let me know. Otherwise, I think this is the only one that I'll be having. Overall though, it is a beautiful fountain pen. I like it, and even the colors actually, it's painted very well. The fade from orange to that yellow orange, it's actually pretty nicely done. Even when it's capped, it feels like the fade is actually pretty good, and when you uncap it, the fade from the section into the barrel, it's actually perfect. It's actually as it should be done. There is a very small bump between the section and the barrel because the ring in there, the metal band, is not perfectly aligned with the section and the barrel, but I don't find it really that intrusive. It actually helps you to feel I guess where the section ends and where the barrel starts if you don't look at it. I like it. Overall though, if you like hooded nibs, don't pass on this fountain pen. I think it is worth it. It's pretty much like the original 329 but better, and it comes in more color options. As for the drawing, well, slowly going towards the end of it. Like I mentioned, layering this ink gave me some really nice effects. The interesting thing about the ink is that on this page, when it dries, it almost looks like dried blood. Maybe more orangey than somebody would like, but that's the feeling that it gave me, and I think it's a pretty good match for the paper. I like it. This is the reason why I don't want to just throw away the ink, because this Fire Opal, I don't know if there are any other inks that can behave in the same way, and I don't know if they changed the chemistry of the ink and they fixed it. So I'll try and look into it and see what's going on with the ink. Maybe I'll get something else. But until I find something similar, I like this ink. And like I said, this fountain pen and that ink bottle are paired forever until I'm done with the ink. The drawing in the end, I don't know what it is. This was something else that just came out of the page as I was moving my hand. And I like it. I like especially how the eye or the region around the eye turn out. It's it's a really weird thing. The nose is weird. I guess it's kind of a scary creature this time, not a friendly creature. When I was done with the drawing, the feeling that I got from it, it's like a weird floating creature that is maybe in the same family with the wrangler fish, because it's nothing but head and mouth with big eyes, even though for the wrangler fish the eyes, as far as I know, they don't really work, or maybe I'm mistaken. Anyway, weird drawing. Kind of like the character. I love the lines that I got out of the pen and ink combination. I love the details on the drawing, and yeah, it's I don't know. What do you think this is? Like I said, to me, it looked a lot like a weird alien that it's kind of related to a wrangler fish. Nothing but mouth and head and teeth, obviously. Anyway, rambling again. Bottom line, beautiful fountain pen. Love the ink that I used on the drawing. Interesting drawing for this week. A little bit more scaring maybe than the usual, well, not usual, than the last drawings that I've been doing. But still kind of a fun, and I really enjoyed it. With that said, thank you very much for joining me again today. Thank you for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time, hopefully. Wish you a wonderful day or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.